I think the savviness that he brings, the court division is already unbelievable. Like I couldn't believe what I saw for a 19, 20-year-old.
Welcome back, you guys, and yep, I'm joining in on the Luka Doncic content that everyone's been putting out in the past month or so. I think it's time to make a video about him and talk about some of the pre-draft criticism that was apparently going to hold him back in the pros. I wasn't against anyone critiquing Luka because there's nothing wrong with being skeptical, but pretty much most of the criticisms about him were kinda silly to me. So let's talk about those flaws, and if you're looking for another place to talk about Luka and other NBA things, then I'd recommend checking out the Amino app, who I want to thank for sponsoring this video. Amino has millions of communities for any interest you can think of, and that includes the Hardwood Amino community, which has over 100,000 hoop fans. Right when you open the app, you can click the bottom of the screen to see where most of the community is, whether that's debating in public chats, taking a quiz, or reading a blog post. There's lots of interesting NBA discussions you can get involved in. I made a post about my 3 All-NBA teams so far that I want you guys to respond to. I will be commenting back to some of your guys' replies on the All-NBA teams post I made. You can comment on my post by downloading the app on your phone by clicking the link in the description and searching my profile name CaineLovesCali. The 2 biggest criticisms you heard from draft sites to basketball fans is that Luka will struggle with his lack of explosiveness as a wing player. Well, Luka Doncic is not unathletic. I guess if you compared him to Jaylen Brown's athleticism or Victor Oladipo's, I guess you could say Luka is unathletic. Jumping straight up in the air and running really fast is not the only part of athleticism. Balance, coordination, and agility are a part of that too. A guy like Joakim Noah isn't a jump out of your screen type of athlete, but he became an all-NBA player with his IQ and overall balance on the court. Obviously, there are different positions and different play styles between the two, but you get what I'm saying. You can make a huge difference at the pro level by just being crafty and having a high IQ. There are 2 sides of it. There are players that rely on overt athleticism to get to the rim, but they can't do it consistently throughout the game because they don't have that craftiness with their dribble. A perfect example is Andrew Wiggins. His athleticism is crazy, but he doesn't have the ball handling skills to get to the rim consistently. Combine Luka's dribbling with how often NBA teams run pick and rolls and how certain players can just cook all game from running them, I thought Luka would fit right in with the current NBA climate. It's the same concept, just against better defenders, so with NBA game reps, I expected him to adjust quickly. Just ask Dirk Nowitzki, who said that Luka was more NBA ready on and off the court than he was back in the 90s. Luka also has a little bit of edge and some cockiness to him on the court. I like that about him. Dirk said this in an interview: Luka's like a savvy veteran to me already. The way he sees things, the way he reads pick and roll situations, the way he carries himself on and off the floor. So what are his stats this year? Luka is averaging about 18 points, bringing down 6 rebounds, and shooting 38% from the 3-point line. Who would have known that when you're a teenage MVP with years of experience against high-level players, you would be able to adjust? What's making Luka's start to the season so impressive is that he's making the 3-point shot off the dribble. The dribble pull-up 3-pointer is a skill that a lot of all-stars are using to separate themselves as a player and take advantage of defenses when they're not set. Guys like Kemba Walker, Steph Curry, James Harden, and Damian Lillard have made a living off that shot. Luka, through a quarter of the NBA season, has shown he can do this reliably already. As of today, according to NBA.com's tracking data, Luka has made 29 pull-up 3-point shots, which is 4th out of all players. He's only behind Kemba, Harden, and Lillard. Having a player that can take those type of shots in a close game is very valuable when you're struggling to create offense with the 4 other players. I mean, he's a rookie and already making those pull-up threes at a level with other all-star offensive players. He's already one of the better playmakers in the league right now. Remember, playmaking starts with being a scoring threat yourself, then being a passer. The 3-point shooting has been there for him, so what about scoring at the rim? Well, right now Luka has made 44 out of 73 shots in the restricted area, which puts him at 60%, which is the same as his teammate Harrison Barnes. And Harrison Barnes is probably someone that is considered more athletic than him. Is Luka at like a DeMar DeRozan level of finishing at the rim? No, but I just watched the game where he went past PJ Tucker then shot over Clint Capella. This isn't an elite skill, but definitely not a weakness if he's doing that. Okay, so one of the last criticisms I read was that he will struggle to defend quicker players. This is similar to the lack of elite explosiveness part, but we're going to move the convo to team defense. Defending quicker players is not a strength obviously, but once he got drafted by Dallas, this flaw was not going to be too much of a big deal on this team. According to Basketball Reference's play-by-play stats, Luka has played 85% of his minutes at the power forward spot. Harrison Barnes, Wesley Matthews, and Dorian Finney-Smith will guard the small forward or the quicker player before Luka does. I watched him play against the Raptors and the Lakers, and it didn't really seem like he was too out of his depth trying to keep up on the defensive side of the floor. In his games, he's made some stops, and he's got beat a few times. I saw him get beat by Harden one time. It happens. It's pretty tough to defend one-on-one in this league. My whole thing with the defensive criticism is that we know where the NBA is headed. Smaller players, and I'm doing air quotes, are moving to the power forward position, and at this point, it's almost like a second small forward spot. Now, yes, people like Blake Griffin, Julius Randle, Derek Favors, and other traditional power forwards still get minutes at that spot, but there are other teams that start non-traditional fours, so Luka won't have to worry about defending those big power forwards. It's not like Luka is coming up in the late 90s and he'll have to worry about defending Karl Malone or Rasheed Wallace or something like that. Some of the time it's going to be against someone like Dante Cunningham or Jay Crowder, not someone who's going to be posting you up and getting to the free throw line. He's not coming into a league where you got monsters on the block to defend at the 4. You'll probably be standing in the corners or moving your feet to defend a screen. Plus, with the rule changes, it's not like you can get too physical. The refs are going to hit you with a foul, so really Luka is in the perfect era to defend. Of course he can get better, but he's still 6'8", 220 pounds, so it's not like you can easily push through him. So the last criticism I read this one a lot on Twitter, and it was probably the funniest one, and that is he can be too passive on offense. I remember seeing on Twitter one day that Luka didn't have many shot attempts in a Real Madrid game, and they still were able to win the game. I was confused by this one because I also read that he sometimes relies too heavy on over-dribbling and ISO play, so I'm like, which one is it? There are definitely times this year where he takes a step back, but I don't think it's because he's passive. I just think he's just allowing the offense to go. He's only taking about 12 shots per game, but that isn't a bad thing. Playing off the ball, playing as a spot-up shooter, and allowing your teammates to take part in an offensive system are hugely underrated skills. Not only is playing off the ball a good skill, but just being a threat off the ball is too, because you're always commanding attention by your defender, and they can't crash to help when someone is rolling to the rim. There's nothing wrong with being a 1B player on offense for like about half the game. And that's pretty much it for me, man. Did you guys think Luka was going to be this good early on, or were you thinking he was going to struggle? It's just basketball talk. We're sometimes right, we're sometimes wrong about stuff. I definitely wasn't expecting him to make pull-up threes like this early on, but overall I'm not too surprised because of how the current NBA game is played and how Luka was brought up as a player in Europe. Of course, he's not the perfect player. He is a bit turnover prone right now. My bad about the audio at the end of my video from yesterday. That was my mistake. My next video might be about the 6th Man of the Year race, so be on the lookout for that.